A magnificent amber room exists today inside the Catherine Palace near St Petersburg. Its walls glow with carved amber, mirrors and gilded ornament. Visitors can enter it. Yet this is not the room that vanished during the Second World War. The present interior is a reconstruction completed in 2003 after decades of research and craftwork. The original ensemble was dismantled under German occupation in 1941, taken to Königsberg, and never recovered as a complete authenticated room. That contradiction is the real beginning of the mystery. The amber room is visible, but the original is missing. To understand what disappeared, we must separate the room we can enter from the many forms that existed before it. The amber room was not created in one moment by one uncontested genius. It emerged in stages within the Prussian court after 1701, when amber was being transformed from a precious material into monumental architecture. Andreas Schlüter is often associated with the early design concept. Other architects and craftsmen, including Johann Friedrich Eosander, Gottfried Wolfram, Ernst Schacht, and Gottfried Thurau, appear in different phases. The evidence does not support a simple claim that one man designed and built the finished room. At first, it was better understood as an ensemble of carved amber panels mounted onto a structural backing. It was modular, costly, fragile, and capable of being dismantled, moved, and rebuilt. That ability to change location would define its history. In 1716, the Prussian king Frederick William I presented the amber ensemble to Peter the Great as part of court diplomacy between Prussia and Russia. But Russia did not receive the mature room later photographed at the Catherine Palace. It received an earlier panel ensemble. Over the following decades, those panels were installed, moved and transformed within the imperial palaces. At Tsarskoye Selo, now within the city of Pushkin near St Petersburg, the amber became part of a much larger interior. In the architectural world associated with Bartolomeo Rastrelli, mirrors, gilded carving, painted surfaces and Florentine mosaics helped integrate the Prussian panels into the Catherine Palace. By the 20th century, the room was a layered historical object, Prussian in origin, Russian in transformation, and altered by generations of repair. When war arrived, there was no single portable treasure waiting to be lifted from a wall. There was a fragile interior built into the palace around it. In 1941, German forces advanced into the Soviet Union, and museum staff faced the task of protecting the Catherine Palace collections. Many objects could be packed and evacuated. The amber room could not be removed so easily. The aged amber was brittle, and dismantling it risked breaking the carved panels. Later accounts describe staff covering parts of the room in an attempt to conceal or protect it. The exact sequence is not fully documented in the sources reviewed here. There is no need to invent a final meeting, a heroic speech, or one decisive mistake. What the evidence supports is simpler. The full room remained when the palace fell under occupation. Its fragility had prevented its custodians from safely moving it. That same fragility did not prevent the occupiers from taking it apart. German occupation personnel dismantled the amber room and transported its components from Tsarskoye Selo to Königsberg in East Prussia, today Kaliningrad. The core movement is well supported. The familiar precision is not. Published accounts disagree over whether dismantling took 36 or 56 hours. They also repeat different counts. Without the controlling packing list or operational record, those numbers cannot be treated as settled facts. What can be said is that the room was dismantled rapidly over several days, packed into multiple crates, and carried hundreds of kilometers from an occupied palace. This was not a neutral rescue, it was a wartime seizure. In Königsberg, the panels were installed again, adapted to a different space, photographed and described in print. For a brief period, the evidence becomes unusually clear. In 1942, Königsberg Museum director Alfred Rode published an illustrated article describing the Amber Room's installation inside Königsberg Castle. That publication is the documentary center of this story. It is contemporary evidence that the amber panels had reached the city and were publicly displayed there. It also shows that the ensemble had been reconfigured for a room with different dimensions. Rode was not a neutral observer. He was a museum official and participant operating within the Nazi occupation system. His claims require critical reading, but the article, its images and its date establish a physical state that later rumors cannot erase. By 1942, the original amber ensemble was in Königsberg Castle. Whether every Catherine Palace component was displayed, stored separately or omitted remains uncertain. Even so, this is the last high-certainty arrangement the surviving evidence allows us to see. After this point, the record begins to break. Königsberg suffered devastating bombing, fire and battle damage in 1944 and 1945. The castle was heavily damaged, but general destruction does not establish the specific fate of the Amber Room. Later accounts report different outcomes. Some say the panels survived the bombing, some say they were packed again, others place them in storage or prepare them for evacuation. A frequently repeated statement attributed to Rode is often treated as a final wartime sighting. The underlying document has not been directly verified in the evidentiary package controlling this script. It cannot be used as an authenticated last confirmed date. This is the decisive change. Before the bombing, a contemporary publication and photographs document the room. After it, the chain depends increasingly on indirect quotations, incomplete records, and later recollections. The evidence does not prove that the panels survived the castle's destruction. It also does not prove that they remained there and burned. The room disappears not at one documented moment, but inside a widening gap between events and records. Once that gap opens, 5 broad explanations remain possible. One hypothesis proposes destruction in Königsberg during bombing, fire, battle, collapse, or later clearance. The scale of destruction makes this plausible, but no authenticated room-specific debris or complete documentary chain has confirmed it. A second proposes nearby concealment, a cellar, bunker, tunnel, or fortification. Such places may be physically possible, but possibility is not evidence that the crates were ever placed there. A third proposes evacuation by rail, road, or sea. To move beyond hypothesis, it would require credible cargo records, load-in evidence, and a chain of custody to a receiving location. No authenticated chain is present in the reviewed package. A fourth proposes fragmentation, that parts were separated, stolen, traded, or privately held. Every claimed object would require technical authentication and provenance. The fifth is survival in an unidentified repository. It remains logically possible because the record is incomplete, not because positive evidence has established it. These are not 5 competing answers, they are 5 categories of uncertainty. None closes the post-1944 gap. For decades, official commissions, archivists, police investigators, archaeologists, journalists and treasure hunters have searched for the Amber Room. But the existence of a search does not validate the theory that inspired it. A negative result is useful only when we know what area was examined, how thoroughly it was examined, and whether the method could detect what was claimed to be there. The strongest discoveries are narrower than the headlines. A Florentine mosaic associated with the room, known as Touch and Smell, was found in Germany in 1997. It was returned to Tsarskoye Selo in 2000, together with an associated commode. Those objects show that individual components could become separated and survive outside the main ensemble. They do not prove that the principal amber panels survived, remained together, or followed the same route. That is the standard every search must meet, not whether it produces an exciting location, witness, or amber object, but whether it creates a verified chain back to the historical room. No search has yet produced that chain for the complete original. The most successful Amber Room project did not locate the missing original. It reconstructed the lost interior from the evidence that remained. A Soviet decision in 1979 began a program that continued for roughly 24 years and culminated in the opening of the reconstructed room in 2003. The craftsmen did not possess a complete color record or an intact set of original panels. They worked from photographs, watercolors, a rare color image, surviving fragments, related amber objects, architectural evidence, and specialist knowledge. They studied carving, mosaic assembly, surface color, backing systems, adhesives, and the way amber changes with age and light. Some historical techniques had to be recovered through experiment. Some modern materials and interpretive choices were unavoidable. Published accounts even disagree over exact fragment counts and the date of the surviving color image, so those figures cannot carry more certainty than their sources allow. The result is neither the recovered original nor a perfect duplicate. It is a research-based reconstruction, a new physical room built to recover an appearance, a craft tradition, and an experience from incomplete evidence. Its brilliance is real. So is the absence it represents. The Amber Room is well documented through much of its life. The records establish a multi-stage Prussian creation, a diplomatic transfer to Russia, a transformation at the Catherine Palace, a wartime seizure, and a reconfigured display in Königsberg by 1942. Then the evidence fractures. No verified transport chain proves evacuation. No authenticated physical record proves concealment. No room-specific evidence conclusively proves destruction. The surviving evidence does not establish the original room's final fate. The reconstructed Amber Room restores the visual force of the lost interior and the knowledge required to work amber on an architectural scale, but it does not restore the missing original's final biography. That is what the mystery actually is, not a treasure map waiting for one dramatic discovery, but a historical object that passed beyond the point where the surviving records can responsibly follow it.